Come across some very suspecting teenagers.
Suspecting?
Can you please hurry up? Please, they're very aggressive, yep.
I left my wallet with my ID at home. Leave us alone, we didn't do anything!
That movie, Karen, it is a hot ass mess. And we're gonna talk about it. Oh my God, this movie is so it's so funny because it's hilarious, but at the same time, it's triggering.
Tell me about your new neighbors. They're black. Do you mind keeping it down?
If you don't comply, I'll tell the manager.
Somebody's taking home security serious.
And it's very disturbing all in one go. And if you don't know about the movie Karen, it's this movie that came out on BET. And it's about a Karen. What is a Karen? Well, a Karen is an entitled white woman who sort of spends her time just looking for black people to harass, using white supremacy, white privilege and white supremacy as a tool to weaponize whiteness into, putting black people in jail, getting black people attacked, whatever the case is. So this movie, this lovely couple, black couple, move into this, predominantly white neighborhood, and their neighbor next door is a Karen, and her name, funny enough, is Karen. So every time they called her Karen, I just kept laughing. It was so funny. But that was her name, and she spent the movie just harassing them, pretty much, and just sort of preying on them. I'm not going to spoil the movie for you. I think you should go watch it. And I think this is a movie that it's so traumatizing, or it's so traumatizing for black people. I don't think any more black people need to watch it. I think black people need to show this to their white friends. They need to see this. So it coming out on BET is kind of annoying, because it needs to come out on white publications for white people to understand this. But it's important for it to do well amongst the black community. So I guess share it with your friends, let everyone watch it, and just encourage your white friends to watch it, because this movie just reveals, this movie doesn't just reveal the mentality of a racist person. This movie, for me, reveals the truth about inequality. But before I get into that, don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, all the above. It really pushes this video out in the algorithm and encourages me to make more videos. This video is brought to you by Brand Video Pros Members Lab, an online course that helps brands and influencers scale their influence and sales. Now let's begin. Because I stand by this statement that inequality is inequality no matter what it is, no matter whether it's about race, whether it's about sexuality, whether it's about gender. Inequality is inequality. And the whole idea of segregating these, oh no, well, this is about homosexuality, or no, this is about racism, or no, this is about gender. Separating it sort of participates in this divide and conquer mentality, right? Separate them so they're like crabs in a barrel, and they fight and they come against each other. So that's why you see a lot of toxic masculinity and misogyny in the black male community, especially online. Or you see, a lot of, either way, it goes all ways. You might see some gay or women bashing gays, men bashing gays, or heterosexual people that are black bashing gays. You see that a lot. And it's this idea of oh, well, I'm this segment of the society that I might not be white, but at least I'm still a black man. I'm still a man. So that gives me and I'm straight. So it gives me some sort of hierarchy. And it's this hierarchy that's built from this idea of white supremacy, where at the top of the pyramid is a rich white man. I'm not even going to say a white man. White man comes under a rich white man. And white men are sort of given the illusion that they have the same power as rich white men. That's how they kind of exploit them to make them, be their soldiers that do their dirty work, because hey, you're a white man, so you're really you're great in society. But no, they're just using you. That's how you see all Donald Trump's supporters, not all of them, but a lot of them. They're either super rich or they're super poor. And the poor ones, they think that, oh, well, you're talking about us white, we're white men and we're important, but he's just using you, doesn't care about you. And I actually learned about this in this series, Seen on Radio. You should go check it out. And they have different seasons. One was about men and inequality in men. That was a very good one. And one was it's called Seeing White, and it's about the history of racism. And what it broke down, or what it revealed in this in this podcast was that, well, back in the days, this is after slavery, it became a time where like poor white men started socializing with poor black people. So the rich white men saw this as a problem, because if everyone at the bottom starts socializing, well, that's going to be a problem because they can all come against us. So they created this system that divided blacks from poor whites. And it was this idea that, well, as long as you have white blood, this ideology, this propaganda, as long as you have white blood, well, you're superior. You're superior. And therefore, this severed sort of those relationships between black people and white people in the lower class and middle class. So back to my point, divide and conquer mentality. And so this movie, Karen, plays into that.
You people are very angry.
Because when you see Karen, she's not an important person. Okay, she lives in a decent neighborhood. Well, we all know with the zoning laws, white people were able to build generational wealth through purchasing housing because of they were given loans, they were giving all these things. And in these white communities, the segregated white communities, they would have better access to better schools, etc. So that enabling white people to build generational wealth for themselves, as opposed to like black people who, they were given like the obviously terrible areas to live in, the zoning laws, and then in those areas they would have really bad schools. So that's perpetuating the downward spiral. Then you have a lot of people putting drugs into the community and doing all these experiments, putting like STDs into the community. We know the Tuskegee syphilis study, where they injected a lot of black people in this study with syphilis, and they just left them to go into the community and spread it. So you have a lot of mistrust in the health. There's medical racism. There's all sorts of racism. So black people have really suffered in society. But back to my point in this movie, Karen, it really plays into all these themes. So you have this woman sort of like, she has this, authority, believing that, well, she's white, so she's better than everybody else. But I say this to say that like a lot of her behavior was very familiar to me, because I'm originally Nigerian, right? That's where my family's from, etc. And so I lived there until I was 5 years old or 6 years old. And I go every Christmas. I go a lot back and forth. In fact, next week, you'll see me in Nigeria in the next set of videos. I go a lot to Nigeria. And Nigeria, we have a big classism problem. Some of these systems built by white supremacy, but also, no, we definitely play into it. We perpetuated and built it in a way. But when you look at the way the UK is set up, very classist society, and Nigeria sort of like emulates that as well. And a lot of the things that I would see Karen do and say in this movie was so familiar, because I see rich Nigerians doing this to poor Nigerians. So I say all this to say, inequality is inequality, no matter whether it's race, whether it's sexism, whether it's classism, whether it's homophobia. It is inequality, and it's the same thing, and it shows itself, it rears its ugly head in the same ways. And this movie just enforced that for me. So when you're watching this movie, don't just come at it from a racial perspective. Come at it from like inequality, that perspective, and see how her actions are just so similar to anyone that just feels that they're superior members of society. Anyway, so those are my thoughts on the movie. Definitely something to watch. The entitlement that you see this character just display, it's really triggering. It is extremely triggering. Obviously, there's a lot of injustice there, and it's just worth it to check it out. So yeah, go check it out. And let me know your thoughts. Leave a comment down below. Those are my thoughts on the movie. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, all the above. My name is Kenim, and see you next time. Peace.